Hey everybody, and welcome back to Bearcat Update. Today, I'll be updating you on how the seasons are looking for our fall sports. From cross country clinching a spot at the national championship to football reclaiming the MIAA crown. We've got a lot to cover, so let's get right into it. The Northwest Missouri State cross-country teams had a standout weekend at the NCAA Central Regional Meet in Joplin, Missouri. Both teams continued their historic seasons, with the men securing first place and the women placing fifth. The men totaled 72 points to secure the regional title, with 4 runners finishing in the top 25. Senior Aziz Muhammad led the charge, finishing first in the 10K race and recording the second fastest time in program history. Fellow senior Drew Atkins followed close behind in second place with the 4th best mark in school history. Maxime Touron, Grayson Tapp, and Barnaby Gabier rounded out Northwest scoring, with each placing in the top 25. With the victory, Northwest will travel to Kenosha, Wisconsin on November 22nd to compete in the national championship. The women placed 5th with 156 points, highlighted by sophomore Olivia Backer, who ran the 6K in 21 minutes and 15 seconds. Good for the 4th best time in program history. Other Bearcats that helped secure the top 5 finish include senior Lydia McLaughlin, junior Mason Hartley, and senior Lou McQuare, who all recorded top 15 times in school history. The team will await word on an at-large selection to the national championship that will be awarded Monday by the NCAA. The women's soccer team fell 1-0 against Missouri Western on Friday at Bearcat Field. Despite a strong defensive effort and several scoring chances, the Bearcats couldn't quite find the back of the net. The loss brings Northwest's final season record to 10-6-1 overall and 7-4-1 in the MIAA, tying them with Missouri Western for 4th place in the conference. After a scoreless first half, the Griffins broke through in the 81st minute despite a great performance from goalkeeper Lily Ellis. Ellis recorded 8 saves and brought her season total to 93 and career saves to 363, which is the 2nd most in program history. Yamena Arnau led Northwest's attack with multiple shots on goal. Northwest will look to bounce back as postseason play begins Sunday, where they will rematch the Griffins in St. Joe. For more on soccer, our crew member Rayna sits down with seniors Lily Ellis and Margaret Madden to talk about the final season that they have with the Bearcats.
This is Rayna Wozniak with Bearcat Update. This week we caught up with Margaret Madden and Lily Ellis to talk about the team's mindset and the journey they've had this season.
Super important, I would say. I think that's how we can build to score goals. Right now, with one of our starting forwards out, I'd say there's a little bit of a disconnect, but being able to work through that through these past 3 games and being able to work through that through practice is really good. And once we're able to build that cohesion, I think it'll be very effective going into the tournament.
People often wonder how athletes stay calm under pressure, but behind the composure lies confidence, preparation, and finding the perfect rhythm.
Adversity, I would say it's just been, I don't even know, it's been kind of up, kind of down. Had to go through losing some people, few injuries here and there, and we've persevered for the most part. I would say this team is really young, so didn't really know how it was going to be coming in this year, but I think we've done really good so far.
Margaret Madden has reflected on the growth the team has shown this year and the moments that have meant the most to her.
I'm super proud of all these girls. A lot of us didn't get as many minutes last year, and then a lot of us are freshmen too, so that's like straight into the program. I think we have pushed through a lot of challenges that we've had through the beginning of the season and been able to grow together, and I've just seen these girls fight through everything, and so I'm super proud of all of them.
With this being the final match at Bearcat Pitch, emotions are running high. Here's what Ellis has to say about what these moments mean to her.
Sad. I would say it's hard going into that game knowing it could be your last, but it just gives me more drive to play the best I can.
With hopes to advancing to the next round, Madden shared the mindset that plays a major role in staying focused and performing at their best.
Yeah, so mindset, I'd say our mindset going into the game is always good. We have a super hype energy, and then in the locker room, it's a really good mindset. Coming out into warm-ups, like we try to keep that energy high too. Going into the tournament, I think definitely once we find out who we're going to play, we're going to tactically set up how we should against that specific team. But also, as you were saying, I think keeping it fun and enjoying the moment should be important for every game. So we're definitely going to carry that into our next game.
The soccer team is on the road at Missouri Western today for a tough MIAA tournament matchup.
We're going with intensity. I think we showed it in the first 20 minutes of this game, just the intensity that we can bring to the field and the play that we can bring, and I think that should move forward into this next game.
She also emphasized that intensity is a key part of keeping the team's energy and fire alive. Younger athletes look up to veterans both on and off the field every day. Madden offered some advice for them as they continue their athletic journeys.
I hope that they learn to be super confident within themselves, enjoy every moment, and just know why they chose to play soccer and are able to have fun with the sport just like I was.
Every player has a role in this team, whether you're on or off the field or supporting them from the sidelines.
Just reminding them that everyone has a part on this team, that everyone's just as important as the next. Even the people on the sideline play a pivotal role in this team just as much as people on the field.
As the season comes to a close, the seniors are feeling the weight of this bittersweet ending, reflecting as their time as Bearcats.
Definitely bittersweet. I'm super grateful for all the opportunities I've had, but I've been playing soccer my whole life, so come to an end, it's kind of hard to realize, you know? I feel like I'm going to be in denial, so I just want to keep playing.
An improvement happen every day. While challenges can create bumps in the road, this team has truly elevated their game to another level. This has been Rayna Wozniak with Bearcat Update.
Thanks, Rayna. The volleyball team split a pair of matches this weekend, earning a 3-1 road win over Missouri Southern before falling 3-0 to Central Missouri. On Friday, the Bearcats faced the Lions, where Cassidy Mowinkle led the attack with 18 kills and a double-double, while Abby Boltice tallied a season-high 20 kills and 16 digs. Setter Ella Caffrey dished out 53 assists, marking her third 50-plus assist match of the season. This victory marked Northwest's 13th straight win over the Lions in Joplin. Saturday's matchup proved tougher as the Bearcats were swept by Central Missouri. Kate Frakes led with 7 kills, while Caffrey added 22 assists and 10 digs. Now sitting at 9-14 on the season, the Bearcats' postseason hopes remain alive as they sit just one game out of a conference tournament spot with 2 matches remaining in their season. Northwest celebrated Senior Day as the number 14 ranked Bearcats capped a chilly afternoon with a dominant 38-7 win over Missouri Western to clinch a share of their 32nd MIAA title. The Bearcats honored 27 seniors before kickoff, then delivered a performance worthy of celebration, extending their win streak over the Griffins to 12 straight and improving to 9-1 on the season. After falling behind 7-0 early, Northwest responded with 38 unanswered points, led by quarterback Chris Runke, who threw for 3 touchdowns and rushed for another. Senior running back Jackson Miller scored his first career touchdown, while the Bearcats' defense suffocated Missouri Western, highlighted by Jordan Pegram's first career interception and 2 sacks from Clayton Power. The win marked Northwest's 7th game this season holding an opponent under 16 points. The Bearcats will turn their attention to conference rival Pitt State as they try to earn sole possession of the conference title. For more on the upcoming matchup, our crew member Jackson Phelps gives us the Bearcat Breakdown.
Welcome back to another week of Bearcat Breakdown. I'm your host Jackson Phelps, and this week we'll be taking a deep dive into football's next matchup against Pitt State. The Bearcats and Gorillas are playing this matchup at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, which is home to Sporting KC. The last time Northwest played at Children's Mercy Park was in the 2016 Division II National Championship, where the Cats took down North Alabama 29-3. The games between Northwest and Pitt State used to be played at Arrowhead Stadium, the last being in 2019, where the Bearcats won 38-17. This year's matchup has massive playoff implications for both teams. Northwest and Pitt State are both in the top 8 in Super Region 4 rankings, which puts both of them in the Division II playoffs. Now, with that being said, with a Bearcat win, that could mean the Cats could host a playoff game in Maryville for the first time since 2021. The last matchup between the Bearcats and Gorillas was last year's matchup, with the Gorillas winning 27-3. The Gorillas were led by Luke Nigaman with his 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground and 1 blocked punt return. This season, the Gorillas ranked 3rd in scoring offense and have been led by Zamari Pelode-Gary, and he has shined with over 600 yards rushing and 7 touchdowns. Pitt State has also been led by Kuron Parchman, and so far he has over 400 yards receiving and 3 touchdowns. The Bearcats ranked 1st in scoring offense this season and have been led by senior quarterback Chris Runke, where he has over 1,000 yards passing and 10 touchdowns, along with a 3-touchdown performance against Emporia 2 weeks ago. Northwest is also led by transfer receiver Erwin Nash, where he has over 300 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. The Pitt State defense currently ranks 2nd in scoring defense and have been led by redshirt senior safety Jordan Rogers, where he has over 59 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. The Gorillas defense has also been led by redshirt senior linebacker Stephen Ward II, and he has over 55 tackles and 5 pass breakups. The Cats defense currently ranks 1st in scoring defense and have been led by senior linebacker Carter Edwards, and he has over 58 tackles, 5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, 2 interceptions, and 4 forced fumbles. The Bearcats have also been led by senior linebacker Parker Bowen, where he has over 42 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 interceptions. Once again, this game is the biggest of the year for the Bearcats, and has been in the last 3 years. Coach Mack has done a great job at taking over a program that was struggling and making them national contenders once again. The energy of this team has been different, and with how the season has gone and the mission that this team has, I will be taking the Bearcats to take the last regular season game of the year. I'm Jackson Phelps, and this has been your Bearcat Breakdown.
Thanks, Jackson. We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, our friends over on the Weekend Sports Report will talk more about football senior day and take a look towards the final game of our regular season. We'll be right back.
For over 100 years, the Northwest Missourian has been the cornerstone of campus life and the greater Maryville community, covering topics that have shaped our society and capturing the history of Northwest Missouri's life. The award-winning publication continues to act as a primary source of topical news, spanning several generations of college students. The Northwest Missourian, covering campus and community.
Like the old saying goes,
out with the old, in with the new.
New Game Plus, your new place for everything video game
And tech related. With new wacky shenanigans.
and new packs from your new crew.
So get ready, we're skipping the tutorial with this one.
So watch New Game Plus right here.
Tuesdays at noon on KNWT.
Welcome back to the Weekend Sports Report. I'm your host, Olivia Wallace, joined by me, Jackson Phelps. Let's get right into it. Cue the intro. Jackson, we're almost in a new era of Bearcat football. We're currently 8-0 in MIAA play, the MIAA champions, if you will.
Yeah.
Just talk about that new era of Bearcat football.
You can feel it. I mean, this whole team that was brought in with a kind of a brand new coaching staff, you know, they took out key pieces. Coach Mack brought his guys in, and you've noticed right away from the flip. After that Week 0 loss to Minnesota State, the guys had a different mindset, and it was to win, and they've done it ever since. And it just feels different. One thing that the players and the coaches both talk about is the word energy. There's a lot more energy on the sidelines. When me and you are on the games, we can notice it whenever there's a big play. The coaches are up, giving them, high fives, hugs. Just feels a lot different. And I think that energy has shifted for the better for the Bearcats, and it's gone into the community as well. I think the community back is a lot more prominent this season, and that's why you're noticing a lot more people bleeding green now.
The Bearcats have held their last 3 opponents to only 17 points. We shut down UNK 14-0, and then currently only held 7 points against Missouri Western. Just talk about that 17 points.
Yeah, you know, really it comes into a point where it's the #1 scoring defense in the MIAA, and it's led by a bunch of seniors, so we'll hit on that in a little bit. But, I mean, these guys have been with their backs against the wall. Last 2 weeks, Emporia and now today Missouri Western initially got that first score, and then that defense said, all right, cool, it won't happen again. And that's exactly what they do. They go out with the mindset of, why stop now? They could be up 24 points, and that defense is not going to let up. They have a high motor. Coach Berto, Coach Boswick on the defensive side, I mean, they teach these guys aggression. They teach them how to execute, and they put that plan into action every single week, and they're so fun to watch. They fly around that field, get to the ball super quick, and, I mean, what Shane Fredrickson likes to call them, the green bees, they like to buzz around the field. So, yeah, those guys they're fun.
You talked about that senior class. 22 seniors were honored before the Missouri Western game. Yeah. Just talk about those senior class. I mean, they had the option of leaving with the new head coach, with John McMenamin. They didn't know what he would do. And then coming in and just winning the championship, you know, what they did in 2021 and now 2025. Just talk about that senior class.
Man, it's special. I mean, this senior class, I feel like, it has brought up this team the last 2 years. I mean, they were there when it was rough. They were there when it was good when they got here as freshmen, and now they get to be here as the senior leaders this year. And, you know, it's made up by guys like Carter Edwards, Niall Shutt on the defensive side, who have such big voices, who are such great mentors for the younger guys who are going to be the faces of the Bearcats in the future. But they're also the guys that are going to be your main, you know, key players right there making plays. Carter Edwards, another great game yesterday. And, I mean, man, they're so fun to watch. And on the sidelines, getting to hear their words of motivation, what they're saying post-game, what they're saying during the week, getting these guys prepared, ready to go. It's all positive. And there's a big reason why this team is the way they are, and it's made up by that senior class. And that's what I feel like is so special about this team. Yes, it's a new team with Coach Mack, but they said for 4 years they've been Bearcats, so why would they go anywhere else? We're going to shift to my favorite segment, BCU's Plays of the Week. Let's kick things off with play number 1. We're going to take a look here. It's one of my favorite offensive plays of the day. Chris Runke runs it in for touchdown. Another one, second time in 2 weeks. Chris Runke, you know, how he rushes in for another touchdown. But it's an option play. And one of my favorite plays in college football, it's predominantly a college play, is the option. You're going to watch how Chris Runke goes through his motions here. I want to take a pause right here. What I love what Chris Runke in this play does is it was initially designed perfect because they don't really have any help on the outside. This corner right here, his job is to man this X and this X because both of those gaps are going to be open for Runke to either make the pitch to Quincy or he's going to punch it in himself. Runke was looking at not the eyes, because his eyes were on Runke to try and draw him off. But instead, he was looking at that front leg and front foot here, and he stepped just a little bit this way, so Runke was able to sneak right past him, and Quincy did a good job, still trailing out. But Runke, I love the vision from him to be able to take it in for 6 as we let it play out. It worked out great, and Runke gets in for a touchdown. Great draw up from Coach Mack, and a great job by Runke. As let's take a look at play number 2. And Olivia, how about you break this down?
Yes, I would love to, Jackson. Alrighty, so this is a good play on the defensive line. I talked about this, but this is the MVP of this game. I think the defensive line on this game was just outstanding. The Pack of Cats attack, they were ready. They came for those Missouri Western Griffins. Yeah. If we want to take a closer look, and we're going to take a pause right here. Perfect. Alrighty, so Jordan Pegram, he sees this running back right here. He has the ball. This defender right here didn't do a good job at getting Jordan tackled or anything. He was not put down. But he sees this running back right here. He goes right here. He sees the ball. Oh, and then those Pack of Cats right there. And they all just get in the middle, get that tackle. Jordan Pegram has been an outstanding player for the Bearcats, and I think he's going to shine next week against Pitt State too. I think so too. That D-line, like you said, MVPs, I'll give it to them as well. I mean, they did a great job getting off their blocks, getting in front of that of the Missouri Western offense, and made great plays. Let's take a shift to the last play number 3. Chris Runke looking over the middle to the receiver, Mr. Luke Matthews, as he gets in for the touchdown. As we take a closer look, I mean, this play was designed for Luke Matthews and no one else because he's shifted underneath. Because right now, Missouri Western is playing a zone defense that's inside the middle of the end zone, and their job is to keep it in front of the end zone. And Chris Runke and Luke Matthews are like, okay, if I'm going to keep it in front, I'm just going to punch it right at the line of the goal. And as we take a look here, he punches it right at the line. A great job. But I'm going to take a closer look, and there's a couple things I want to mention here. I want to take a pause right here. Luke Matthews, again, it's a drag route. It's just a nice little 5-yard drag to try and get underneath the defense for him to slip into the end zone.
right here, I want to give credit to number 12. He realized that. He came off his zone to come down, but with the hands that Luke Matthews possess, he holds onto that ball, and that tip of the ball was all it needed to cross that line and get in for 6. And just what a great job. I love that Chris Runke realizes this. Luke Matthews realizes this. Again, seniors, they've been here. They've seen these types of formations on the defense. Just a great job. And as we let it play out, that's another touchdown for your Bearcats. And man, what a job.
We talked about this, before filming, but this to me is almost like a Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce relationship, if you will. Those two are like the dynamic duo of the Bearcats.
Yeah.
Yeah. This has been Weekend Sports Report, and we'll be back in a week. Next up, we're going to send it to Jon Rinehart as he breaks down the next week Bearcat schedule. Take it away, Jon.
Halloween is past, and the best time of year is right around the corner. Fattening up on Thanksgiving, Christmas morning with the family, and ringing in the new year. Playoffs are kicking off too, and that's all happening next week in Bearcat sports. Volleyball starts the final stretch of their season on Thursday against Nebraska Kearney. The Lopers have had another strong season building off of last year's 33-3 season and are now ranked number 3 in the country. This will be the second matchup for the Lopers and the Bearcats this season, where Northwest will need to bounce back to help keep any playoff hopes alive and try to slow down Sydney Davis, who in the last matchup in Bearcat Arena had 9 kills, a staggering .571 hit percentage, and 1 block to help knock off the Bearcats 1-3. Friday will then continue the basketball season for the men's and women's basketball teams. To kick off Friday, women's basketball will be taking on Sioux Falls in the Central Region Showcase. The women's team has gotten off to a slower start than expected this year, dropping their first 2 games of the season, but going up against Sioux Falls and Anna Vaylor will be a chance to right the ship. Anna Vaylor is a sophomore for Sioux Falls who averaged 20 minutes, 8 points, and 4 rebounds per game in her 2024 campaign. In the second game of the Central Region Showcase, the Bearcats will be taking on the Wayne State Wildcats. The Wildcats continued a stretch of underwhelming play last year, continuing a trend of only having 1 season above the 500 mark since 2017-2018. Kyla Van Donker's goat is a bright spot on this Wildcat squad, averaging 11 points a game and controlling the boards with 5 rebounds per game, and she'll be the target for the Bearcats to neutralize to have success in this matchup. And for the Bearcats, even with the slow start, someone starting hot is senior Ella Moody, who has 9 rebounds and 4 assists per game, which blows her numbers from last year out of the water, where in 2024, she only averaged 2 points and less than 1 rebound per game. Men's basketball will then be taking on the Hilliard Tip-Off Classic in St. Joseph against St. Cloud State and Augustana. St. Cloud was a very strong team last year, finishing 8 games above 500 at 20-12, before ending their season against Minnesota State in the second round of the NSIC tournament. In that game, Luke Winkle nearly matched his season high in points with 20 and field goal percentage, and is now entering his sophomore season, is looking to build upon what has been an impressive start to his career. The Bearcats will then take on Augustana on Saturday in a rematch of last season's opener, where then a number 20 ranked Bearcat team was dismantled in St. Joseph 72-50, which gave a grim taste of what was in store for the 2024 campaign for Northwest. Tamron Ferguson had a strong debut for the Vikings with 13 points, 7 rebounds, and 6 assists, and continuing on his freshman campaign last year, averaged 10 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists. With the Bearcats opening up their season of 1-1, transfers have been the story of the season so far. Aiden Gare and Matthew Mays are making impacts, but just as if not more noticeably is Southern New Hampshire transfer Royce Williams, who's already averaging 14 points and 5.5 rebounds, and was a big part of the win over UMSL with 17 points. Volleyball will then be finishing off their regular season on Friday on the road against Fort Hays State. Northwest started off early conference play against the Tigers this season and were swept in Bearcat Arena 3-0. In this matchup against the Tigers, the key will be keeping the ball off the ground in the middle of the court, and both Kirsten Evans and Carson Van Scoy take pride in that aspect of the game, being the dig leaders on both sides of the net. Then, rounding out the week, Bearcat Updates game of next week is making a trip down to Children's Mercy Park in Kansas, as the Bearcats are trying to clinch the solo share of the MIAA championship for the first time since 2021, where the Bearcats ran away with the conference from the start, with their only loss coming against Washburn on a game-losing safety. This could potentially be a top 10 matchup going into next week, with the Bearcats going into the week at 9-1 and the Gorillas being 8-2. Once again, the key to this matchup would be the Bearcats' rushing offense being the best in the conference and number 10 in the country, but the defense for the Gorillas will be the toughest matchup to this point in the season, being the number 2 defense in the conference only behind the Bearcats, but also number 33 in the country. That's all that's happening next week in Bearcat Sports. For Bearcat Update, I'm Jon Rinehart.
Be sure to like, subscribe, and click that bell to be first to know when we post new content. When we come back, our reporter Cayden Simpson sits down with football offensive coordinator Collin in another Bearcat Update exclusive interview. We'll be right back.
Northwest Tower Yearbook has dedicated over a century to documenting life on campus and in the Maryville community. The award-winning organization has numerous Pacemaker Awards and a spot in the Associated Collegiate Press Hall of Fame. Learn more about Tower at the handles below.
Hayden, I don't know how he expects us to do all of this by ourselves.
Mallory, we can do this. That's why Noah asked us to host. He knows we can do it.
I know. It's just there's like so much to do. And
Hey!
Hey!
I just have some last minute notes for you guys. I'll see you guys soon.
Hayden! Topics to cover?
Check.
People to interview?
Check.
Locations to visit?
Check.
And my trip to Hawaii?
That's not on my list.
I'm joking.
Watch Staying Current Wednesdays at noon.
What's up, everybody? This is Steve-O. What's up, everybody? This is Steve-O. You're watching KNWT, practically the national champs of college TV. Yeah.
Welcome back to Bearcat Update. Prior to the dominant win over Missouri Western, our reporter Cayden Simpson was able to sit down with offensive coordinator Collin to talk about the things that have made the Bearcats offense so prolific this year.
Good afternoon, Bearcats, and welcome to this week's Bearcat exclusive interview. Today, I'm here with the offense coordinator, Collin. And how are you doing today, Coach?
I'm doing good, real good.
All right, and so the first question I have for you is, so you have coached some of the top offenses in D2 football. What kind of philosophies or strategies have you brought to the Bearcat offense so far this season?
I think, our guys, we work really hard. Our guys, we work really hard. We do a great job. Our guys do a great job of paying attention to detail. This is by far one of the best, most intellectual groups I've ever been a part of, at least from an offensive line standpoint. They do a great job. They meet you halfway. It becomes, I don't want to say it's easy. It's never easy, but it's a lot easier coaching them when they're going to meet you halfway. I think a big thing is we bring a lot of energy to practice. We get excited. We celebrate big plays. We talk about celebrating each other's successes. Is a huge thing for us. And having fun, right? Game of football is too hard to not have fun, so we try to have as much fun as possible, out there on the practice field and then the game, obviously.
And having coached both the offensive line and quarterbacks in the past, how do you approach building chemistry and communication between these two groups?
I think a big thing is, we try, from an offensive line standpoint, we want to allow the quarterback to have as much time back there as he wants to throw. If he wants to have 3 seconds, 5 seconds, whatever it may be, giving him time to feel comfortable in the pocket, but also know that at the same time, the quarterback's going to help us from an offensive line standpoint, get us out of a couple jams. I think it's a big thing. We do a lot where we want the quarterback to, he sits down next to us on the bench and we're going to talk. So we're kind of in sync, with what we're doing, when we're calling protections or we're calling run schemes and things like that. So trying to get them involved, with one another and make them talk with one another a lot.
And you talked about, giving the quarterback as much time as he can within not allowing sacks. So back at Wayne State, the offensive line led the NSIC in fewest sacks allowed in the season. What is the secret to developing such a polished and disciplined offensive line?
I think it's a lot of hard work. We give our guys, really tough looks during the week. And we always talk about, you're going to get a second and a half into your set to where you can go, and then we talk about, you got to fight it out for another 3 seconds. I think a lot of it is just kind of personal pride in allowing the quarterback to have time. But I think this year I think our quarterbacks, between Z and Chris, those guys have probably saved us 6, 8, 9 times, where they've gotten out of a jam, where there's a free rusher, we get beat. So the quarterbacks I think are also they've got a little correlation to do with with the sacks allowed, and then obviously trying to put those guys in positive situations, not to put them where hey, we want you to take a lot of time, and we're getting a zero pressure look or whatever the defense may be doing. So I think it goes hand in hand. Obviously, the O-line up front, you know, you got to fight it out, and you know, personal pride and not letting your guy get to the quarterback. But I think the quarterback at the end of the day is going to help us more times than not, and not getting sacked.
And being a part of multiple championship and playoff teams like in the past, what lessons from those experiences have shaped your offensive approach going into big games down the stretch?
I think, you know, we just treat every game's a big game. You got to treat every game, you know, like it's potentially your last. We talk a lot about not being satisfied. You can't, just because you did something the week before, it's not going to be an automatic, you know, guarantee the next week. You know, so each week, you know, we feel that we're going to get everybody's best shot, and you know, we're going to see something. We try to get our guys to be able to play fast enough throughout the week that, hey, at some point they're going to throw us at something that we haven't seen, and you know, we're ready for an adjustment on that. I think a lot of building our guys' confidence a lot, that whatever they throw at us, we'll be able to fix during, you know, on the sideline in between series, you know, or at halftime, and then we'll prep for stuff that maybe has given us fits. You know, in weeks past, that hey, this is what this team could do, or it sets up for what they do defensively, you know, and we kind of get ready for it. You know, we kind of prepping for the test and for some of those, you know, oddball things that we might see.
And as a former player and now a coach, how do you connect and motivate your athletes to buy into the goals that you guys have for your offense?
I think we try to share some, you know, experiences. I mean, no one like practice is hard, right? And I think we understand that, you know, as a bunch of coaches that have played football, you know, that understand what it's like, you know, the grind, you know, as they'll say. But at the end of the day, you know, you gotta love what you do, right? And you know, for me, I didn't play until I was a senior, so like I love practice because that was when I actually got to play football. You know, so trying to get those guys to love the little things, right? You know, and I think a big thing is you can, you know, share some experiences. Like when those guys look at you and be like, Coach, we've been going here for, you know, three days hard, and you know, we could maybe use a period of a walkthrough or whatever, and just kind of understand, give those guys a little bit of a break, but at the same time not just completely cut loose and, you know, have a, you know, screw around period, but just relax a little bit. I think sometimes you give a little to gain a lot, you know, in some of those situations in practice.
That's great. Thank you so much for joining us
today.
Yeah,
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Cayden. That's all the time we have for today. I've been your host, Hayden LaValle, and this has been Bearcat Update, the provider of complete coverage of Northwest sports. We're live every Sunday at 2, and you can find us on YouTube at KNWT TV. Along with Bearcat Update, you can watch KNWT's other content. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back in no time.